So we've previously looked at the crucifixion of Jesus as well as early events that defined what we now call the Christian faith. Our purpose here will be to look at how what was called a cult at the beginning became accepted, not only tolerated, but accepted as the official religion of an empire, and today, one of the major world religions on planet Earth. So this concept of a Christian begins to emerge during the reign of the Emperor Trajan. Trajan reigned from the year 98 to 117. And one of his consuls actually wrote to Trajan asking, what should we do about these people? What do we do? Now these individuals, these Christians, they believed they were part of a kingdom that didn't have an earthly king. And this really seemed consistent with the Jewish profession that they would not worship the emperor. Now, the difference between the Jews and this new sect of people was that Christians never had a country of their own. Jews were explicitly tied to the land of Abraham, and the Jewish kingdom was solely spiritual. All right, their name simply implied that they identified with this God-man who had been crucified, and it wasn't with a place. The best modern explanation we can surmise is Trajan took a don't ask, don't tell philosophy of convincing Roman Christians to worship secretly and peacefully, and in that way they wouldn't be harmed. Now, this was very different from decades before, when the Emperor Nero placed blame for the fire of Rome on this new cult. He openly persecuted them and actually banned the faith. Those who were executed for their faith became known as martyrs. So Trajan is definitely taking a different tone, a much different route. Now, the number of Christians began to grow, and despite this, the Emperor Diocletian actually persecuted him during his reign in the late 200s into the 300s. However, this begins to change. It changes in the year 312, when the Western Emperor Constantine, by this time the emperor had actually split up into the western portion and the eastern portion, so Constantine is in the west. The Western Emperor Constantine was prepared to attack a rival to the throne. But as the story goes, and we get an artistic visual here, he saw a vision. All right, he's preparing for battle. He has a vision. A cross of light appeared in the sky. And depending on how you translate it, it was either conquer by this or by this sign you will conquer. Constantine reacted by engraving the letters Chi and Rho. Chi Rho onto his helmet and standard, or Chi Rho. Think of it that way, Chi Rho. These are the first two Greek letters of Christ, Chi and Rho. Constantine won the battle. His rival was killed, and he attributed it directly to the sign that he saw. Now, Christianity would become this new symbol that would hold the empire together. And since the faith had already spread out so far on the Roman roads, and there were multiple ethnicities associated with, it could happen. Now, we see this concept of a Christian mother. His mother was what was called an Arian Christian. And we call her Arian because she adhered to a type of Christianity named after a bishop named Arius. Arius believed that Jesus was simply a human manifestation of God, not necessarily that Jesus and God were one in the same. All right, this is something that'll get ironed out about a decade later, but the idea of Christianity was not far-fetched to Constantine because, again, his mother was a Christian. Now we go to eventual acceptance of this faith. This is a process that's nearly 300 years in the making. Constantine the Great legitimized the faith with a series of decrees and councils. Now, the Edict of Milan legalized Christianity, so the persecution officially came to an end. Almost a decade later, he convened what was called the Council of Nicaea to settle issues of the faith. And the two main issues can be seen here, Holy Trinity and Easter. The biggest issue was the substance of Jesus. In a sense, who is Jesus? The Bishop Arius, the type of Christianity that Constantine's mother was a part of, believed that Jesus was not made of the same substance of God, while Patriarch Alexander of Alexandria believed that he was. This council decreed that Alexander was correct, and this gives us the concept of the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, one and the same. Now, the council also set the time frame and ceremonies for the official celebration of the resurrection of Jesus, which we now refer to as Easter. So we get Easter celebrations in the Holy Trinity, which is why even today in the Catholic Church, the Nicene Creed is the declaration of main tenets of the faith within Catholicism, directly coming from the Council of Nicaea. Now, Constantine himself wasn't baptized until he was on his deathbed. It was very common for leaders to receive a deathbed baptism because he's still technically leader of the official Church of Rome. So he can't exactly say he's a member of another faith. Now, Christianity does become official in the year 381 when Emperor Theodosius issued an edict declaring that Nicene Christianity, or the Roman Catholic Church, was the official religion of the Roman Empire. So the concept of the Holy Trinity, and keep in mind, this had somewhat been decided, but there's still debates that are raging. All right, so the Holy Trinity will be the accepted form of Christianity. He also banned pagan worship. And we can simplify pagan worship as non-Christianity. So the Roman gods and goddesses, the Greek gods and goddesses. This is around the time when many statues of the Greeks and their gods began to either fall out of favor or be destroyed. And this also happened to Romans that were considered pagan. A clear hierarchy within the Roman Catholic Church will begin to emerge. And eventually there were 5 patriarchs, the religious leaders of specific cities. The patriarchs are located in the main urban centers of the empire, and we can see them here: Rome, Constantinople, Alexandria, Antioch, and Jerusalem. The Patriarch of Rome claimed the title of Pontifex Maximus, and this is the same title that was claimed by Roman emperors beginning with Augustus. In addition to being Pontifex Maximus, the Patriarch of Rome claimed to be Pope, Father in Latin, God's chosen apostle who was living on earth. Now, Roman Catholicism will emerge as the heartbeat of life in post-Roman Western Europe for centuries. And the image you see here is St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, which was built on top of the circus of Nero and Caligula. This is a very common theme that you will see within, not just Christianity, but many religions. If you have a new religion and you want to convert non-adherents, you have to fuse your ideas with their traditions. So what we see here is the use of halos. The sun god Apollo had a halo. So now this idea emerges that the angels in Christianity have halos. Romans, especially these wealthy Romans, senators walked around in togas. So the apostles wore togas to sell the idea. December 25th already was the celebration of the sun god. So now this date simply was transitioned to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. So you take existing ideas and traditions, you meld them with new ideas to sell a new concept or convert people to a new faith. That's how the Romans were able to entrench Christianity within the empire.